Hi, my name is Anton, and today we will learn how to write a very basic C# load test with NBomber. Before we start, we should download the C# project from GitHub. As you can see here, we have examples folder, and inside it we have a C# project. And let's open program CS. Inside this file, we have many different NBomber examples, from hello world to HTTP, then push-based MQTT examples, and finally databases. So eventually we will walk through all of them, but today we mainly concentrate on hello world. So here we see the basic fundamental components of NBomber. It's scenario and NBomber Runner. So scenario represents the user flow, basically user behavior. And NBomber Runner is needed to run the following scenario. You can register scenario and then, for example, load some configuration for such scenario and then run it. Scenario basically contains the name and scenario body. Scenario body is some action that will be executed by NBomber and measured. Also, scenario can contain the steps inside, and it can be anything. For example, you can simulate the basic user flow where your user will open login page, then do login, then open product page, and then do logout, for example. And then NBomber will measure all of internal steps and will then bring you statistics that you can use for your assertions or just see or investigate it in reports. In addition to what I said, I highly recommend to read documentation about scenario on NBomber documentation page. So here you will see and find the things related to test lifecycle that includes scenario init, scenario clean, and some other things like warm up, load simulation. All of them quite important. Therefore, it makes sense for you to read this before you start. So let's go ahead and run our load test. As you see in the console, NBomber prints that it started a new session, and then it starts init phase, and after this it starts warm-upping phase. So warm-upping by default takes about 30 seconds, but you can override this value. On warm-upping, we run load test, but without collecting any statistics. Usually it's needed to warm-upping target system and also your load test. After warm-upping finish, we start bombing. And NBomber will display the nice real-time statistics table that will display accumulated statistics during load test run. Basically, it displays the most important information. For example, how many requests finished with OK status, how many requests finished with failed status, what is current RPS value, request per second, what is mean max latency, what is P50, it's a percentile, like P50 means 50% of requests finished in the following latency, 507 milliseconds. Then also in the bottom we have .NET process metrics. It basically displays the current NBomber process metrics, CPU usage, data, memory consumption usage. It's very important data for further analysis. As we can see, we're close to the end, and the final step for NBomber will be to calculate the statistics and then build reports. Let's do something a bit more advanced. Let's edit our scenario and let's do simple HTTP test. For this, we need to add reference or we just need to use HTTP client. It's a standard .NET HTTP client, nothing more special here. So we will use this client inside our NBomber scenario, and we will just send GET request. And yeah, for now we can just use nbomber.com as an example. In this scenario, we basically will send a request, receive response, and NBomber will measure the latency, so how long it takes. That's mainly it. Since we use standard HTTP client, we receive a standard HTTP response message that we can work with. We can check the status code, we can do some validations, we can check or read HTTP content, check headers, check body. So we can do a lot. We basically unlimited here. And one more thing, let's remove warm mapping, since for our experiments we don't need it right now. So to do so, we need to add a scenario without warm up. Okay, now let's run the scenario and see what we get. As you can see, we started without any warm mapping since we disabled it. We started with bombing, and after 10 seconds we got the first statistics, CPU, data, memory, RPS. All this information is very valuable. For example, right now we see RPS 22, meaning that our server is capable to handle 22 requests per second. Also, we have mean. It's minimum latency, yeah, about 30 milliseconds. P50, meaning 50% of all requests finished in 45 milliseconds. P75, accordingly, 75% of requests finished in 46 milliseconds. Yeah, that's it. Our scenario finished, and this is our final stats. Thank you so much that you spent some time with me, and I hope you enjoyed.